What's going on, everybody? King of Dragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the DC Collectibles DC Essentials, the Man of Steel, Superman. Here we do have Superman in the packaging. What we're going to do now is take a little break, get him opened up, and then we'll have a better look at the figure inside. So stay tuned, everyone. And so here we have Superman posed and out of the packaging. Now before we get onto the figure, let's actually talk about the fact that he does not come with any accessories. And that is a really bad thing because Superman kind of does need accessories. I would have liked to see some alternate hands, maybe an alternate head with heat vision. Just something that would have given this figure a little more. Because as it stands, he's still a really nice figure, but some added accessories would have been so much nicer to have. I mean, giving him two open hands like that, plus the two clenched fists, would have been enough for me, but as it stands, he's still a really nice looking figure. So what we're going to do now is actually take a better look at Superman. And here we have a closer look at the Man of Steel, and I have to say DC Collectibles did a really good job on this face sculpt. Now, unfortunately for mine, it does look like he's looking off to the left, which it's not too big of an issue. I would have liked to have his eyes facing forward, but it's not too big of a deal, especially when you have him posed. You're not going to notice it really well. Now, one issue I do seem to have on mine is he has a lot of trouble standing, and that's mainly because his knee joints, although they're kind of stiff, you can see that there is some looseness in them between these detents. And that is a little bit unfortunate because it does make this Superman kind of hard to stand. In fact, you can see him wanting to lean back right there. If you have his legs straight, you don't get an issue, but the moment you just barely tap him, his knees bend slightly and it throws off the entire weight of the figure. In fact, that's what's going on right now. He's standing perfectly now that I'm not touching him. But anyway, again, this head sculpt is really nice. I do love it. Now, he is using the same torso that we saw with Flash and Deathstroke and all those other figures, and I have seen a lot of people say that that's not really right. Superman should be bigger. I do agree, but aesthetically, just looking at the way he looks, this is still a really nice representation of how Superman looks in the comics. Modern day Superman comics, he's not overly muscular. He's actually built and a little slimmer than he used to be, so it is kind of accurate to how he looks in today's comics. One thing I do want to touch on is the S. It is done really, really well. There's no scrapes, there's no bleeding, absolutely no flaws in this S, and I really do love it. It shows that they did take care printing the S on. Unfortunately, it's not sculpted, it's not raised, but I'm perfectly okay with this. Now, moving on to the back, you can see his cape is actually sculpted really, really nicely. You can see it folds in on itself right back here. And the cape is actually a really good length. I do like it. It's not long, but it's not too short. I kind of wish that his cape did bellow out a little bit from the shoulders, just giving it just a little more width. But as it stands, his cape is really nice. Moving on to his arms, you can see he is sporting the wrist cuffs that he started wearing in the New 52, which transferred onto his Rebirth, transferred over to his Action Comics 1000, which this suit is actually based on. He does have a yellow belt. Now, he doesn't have the loops painted red, and I know a lot of people say that that kind of destroys the look for the figure. It honestly doesn't. It looks really nice, and you're not going to notice it from a distance. The red paint right here on his trunks, especially on the thighs, is a little bit light. It's lighter on the right side than it is the left side, but a few more coats on this side and it would have looked so much better. And then going all the way down to his boots, you can see the boots are nicely sculpted. I love that it has the classic Superman cut in them. It's just a really nice figure to look at, and this is probably one of my favorite Superman that I own in my collection. So other than that, nothing really special to say about Superman's details. It's blue, it's red, he has a belt, it looks like Superman, and I'm perfectly okay with that. So with his details out of the way, let's actually get him compared to a few other figures you may have in your collection. And here we have Superman posed next to a DC Multiverse Superman and a Marvel Legends Cyclops. Here we have Superman posed next to a DC Universe Classic Superman and a Power Rangers Legacy Green Ranger. And finally, here we have Superman posed next to the DC Essentials Brainiac. So with the comparisons out of the way, let's actually have a look at Superman's articulation. Now, he does sport the same articulation that all the Essential figures have. He does have a ball joint in the head, and I think his ball joint works just as good as Batman's. I really do like it. It goes up and down, and this is just movement on the ball joint. We don't get any side, well, we do get some tilt, so I do like that. Left and right swivel. Now, something I really do love about this Superman figure is how far he can look up. You can get him in a lot of good flight poses just on this joint alone. It's so perfect, and it works for Superman. He can look down, so you can actually get him in some levitating poses, so I do like that. Arms on a ball joint go out to about there. A little stiff on mine, but they do a full 360 swivel at the bicep. He is double jointed at the elbow. Works no problem. Swivel hinge at the wrist. And it's the same for both arms. He does have an ab crunch which goes back about that far. Comes forward to about there. He does swivel at the waist. Hips go forward, back, and out. He swivels at the thigh. Double jointed in the knee, and that's a stiff joint, but he is double jointed in the knee. We do get a swivel here in the boot, a hinge in the ankle, some rotation, and then we can actually move that joint, so we get some pretty good rocker ankles here on Superman. So overall, a really nice figure, and I'm really glad to have this figure in my collection. So what we're going to do now is take a little break, get him posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. So sit tight, everyone. And so here we have the DC Essential Superman posed for my final thoughts. Overall, I really do love the way this figure came out. The detailing on this Superman is really great. I love the shade of blue that they went. It's not too dark, but it's also not too light, and it's a really good balance between the two. The red is a little dull, but I'm okay with that. The cape is the perfect length for your Man of Steel. The S-Shield is painted really well, and there's no defects on mine, so hopefully if you find this guy, yours is the exact same way. Now, I did find this Superman at one of my local comic book stores, so huge shout out to Black Sheep Comics for getting this guy out to me so I could review it for you guys. Superman, as well as the other DC Essentials figures, are going to run you about $22 all the way to $28, just depending on where you pick them up. If you are looking for a Superman to have in your collection, this is probably the way to go. The articulation is phenomenal, and the detailing on him is really nice. So if you have to pick just one Superman to own in your collection, this is probably the one to do it. With that being said, guys, I'm KingofDragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go check out all my other action figure reviews, as well as all my other DC Essentials videos. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it fits in my collection, I'll definitely have a look at it. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.